The folder hit the kitchen table with a soft thud that felt like a gunshot in my chest. My father did not raise his voice. He did not even look uncomfortable. He just said, "You are no longer part of the company," like he was reading items off a grocery list. My stomach dropped so hard I thought I might throw up right there on the linoleum floor where I used to do homework as a kid. My hands were wrapped around a coffee mug I did not remember pouring, and suddenly I could not feel my fingers. The ceramic felt cold and slippery against my palms. Across from me, my father sat back in his chair, calm, controlled, already finished with a conversation I was still trying to understand. His reading glasses sat on top of his head. His hands were folded like a judge who had made his final ruling. Behind him, the kitchen clock ticked loudly. It was 9:47 in the morning on a Tuesday, and my entire adult life had just ended before I finished my first cup of coffee. This was not some boardroom in a glass building downtown. This was not an office with lawyers present. This was our kitchen. The same place where I used to sit up past midnight answering client emails while he slept upstairs. Where I built invoices between loads of laundry because the washing machine was down here and I could multitask. Where I told myself it was okay to work for free because family meant something more than a paycheck. The table was the same one we ate Thanksgiving dinner on. My mother sat at the far end, staring at a spot on the wood like she could burn a hole through it with her eyes. My brother, Tyler, did not look up from his phone. His thumbs kept moving across the screen. A notification dinged. He smiled at whatever he was reading. No one said a word. The refrigerator hummed. Somewhere outside, a dog barked twice and went quiet. "You did not build this," my father added. His voice almost gentle, like he was explaining something to a child who did not understand math. "I did. This company existed before you came back from college. You just helped." The word helped landed like a slap. That was when I felt it. The heat behind my eyes. The pressure building in my chest like someone was standing on my ribs. The sharp, burning humiliation of realizing this was not a discussion. This was not a disagreement we could talk through over dinner. This was an execution, and I was only just now seeing the blade. My throat closed up. I tried to swallow and could not. I kept my face completely still because if I moved even one muscle, I knew I would either scream or cry, and I refused to give him either. So I just stared at the folder on the table. It was manila, thin, almost empty. No severance. No acknowledgement. Just a single piece of paper inside that probably said I was no longer authorized to access company files. I nodded once. I did not cry. I did not beg. I did not ask him to reconsider or remind him of the late nights or the clients I saved or the revenue that doubled after I fixed his broken systems. And that, I think, confused him more than anything. He blinked, shifted in his chair, opened his mouth like he was about to say something else, maybe soften it, maybe add some line about how this was not personal. But I stood up before he could. My chair scraped loudly against the floor. The sound echoed. My mother flinched but still did not look at me. Tyler glanced up for half a second, then went back to his phone, picked up the folder. It felt like it weighed nothing, which made sense because that was exactly how much I was worth to them now. Nothing. I walked out of the kitchen, through the hallway with family photos on the walls, photos that included me, and out the front door into the bright, too cheerful morning sunlight. My name is Ashley Moore, and before that morning the business was my entire adult life. I did not storm out. I did not slam the door. I picked up that folder, felt how light it was, and walked to my car in the driveway like my legs had not just been cut out from under me. The gravel crunched under my shoes. A neighbor across the street was watering his lawn. He waved. I do not know if I waved back. I got into my car, closed the door, and sat there with my hands on the steering wheel, staring at the dashboard. The check engine light was on. Had been on for 3 weeks. I kept meaning to get it looked at, but I was always too busy working. Only when I was sure no one could see me through the tinted windows did my hands start shaking. Not just my hands. My whole body. I pressed my forehead against the steering wheel and took long, slow breaths through my nose, trying not to fall apart in broad daylight in my parents' driveway. It was supposed to be temporary. That was what everyone said when I came back home after college. Just help out for a few months. Just until they got back on their feet. The business was struggling then. My father liked to call himself an entrepreneur, but what he really was stubborn. He refused to update anything. The filing system was ancient. Half the records were still on paper in boxes in the garage. Clients were drifting away because no one returned their calls on time. The website looked like it was built in 2005 because it was. When I walked in that first week, I found unopened invoices from 4 months earlier sitting in a drawer. Fixed one thing. Small thing. I set up an automated email system so clients got confirmation replies within an hour. Then I fixed another thing. Then another. Then everything. By month 6 I was not helping anymore. I was running the entire operation while my father took credit in meetings and my mother handled the decorating for the office Christmas party. I modernized everything. I built client retention systems from scratch using free software I taught myself to use by watching videos at midnight. I handled negotiations my father hated because he took rejection personally and would lose his temper. I trained the part-time staff we hired. I created processes so nothing fell through the cracks. Revenue doubled in the first year. Then doubled again. People started calling and asking specifically for me, not for my father. They would say, "Is Ashley available? She helped us last time." And my father would smile, put them on hold and say to me, "Another one of your fans." Like it was cute. Like I was the mascot, not the engine. He told everyone at the Chamber of Commerce meetings, "She is just helping out while she figures out what she wants to do with her life." I was 27 years old, working 60-hour weeks. And he still introduced me as his daughter who was finding herself. People believed him. Let them. The praise stopped the moment the control started slipping. Happened slowly. He started questioning my decisions in front of clients. Little comments. "Are we sure that is the best approach? Maybe we should think about it more." He rewrote the processes I built, making them worse, just to prove he could. He took meetings without telling me, then called me afterward asking me to clean up whatever mess he made with promises he could not keep. I told myself it was stress. The business was growing. He was feeling the pressure. Men his age do not like being shown up by their kids, especially their daughters. I made excuses. I absorbed the tension. I stayed late to fix things that did not need to be broken. And every time I brought up the idea of formalizing my role, maybe putting my name on contracts or giving me an actual title, he would nod and say, "We will talk about it." We never did. One morning I got to the office early, poured my coffee and sat down at my desk. I tried to check my email. The screen blinked. Password incorrect. I tried again. Same thing. I tried a third time and the account locked me out completely. My heart started pounding. I walked into my father's office. He was reading something on his phone. "My email is not working," I said. He did not look up. "Technical issue," he said. "I will have Tyler look at it later." I believed him. I actually believed him. I spent the whole day working off my phone, texting clients, apologizing for delays. Tyler did not fix it. By the end of the week, I still did not have access. When I asked again, my father said the system was being upgraded. When I asked why no one told me, he said he forgot. I let it go. I told myself it was not a big deal. It was a very big deal. Then my name started disappearing. First from the proposals. Then from client meetings. I would show up to a negotiation I had spent 2 weeks preparing for, and my father would introduce himself, then Tyler, and then say, "This is Ashley. She helps with admin." Like I was filing papers and answering phones. Like I had not been the one who closed the deal in the first place. My authority vanished in rooms where it used to be automatic. Clients looked confused. Some of them would pull me aside after and ask quietly, "Are you okay? What is going on?" I did not know what to say. By the time I noticed the full picture, I was already being replaced. Not by someone better. Not by someone with more experience. Just by someone obedient. Tyler had no business experience. He was 24 and had spent the last 3 years trying to launch a podcast that never got past 5 episodes. Now he was sitting in on my meetings, nodding along, and my father was calling him the future of the company. Which is how I ended up back at that kitchen table, holding a useless folder, being told I did not matter. That night I did not sleep. I lay on my back in my apartment, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of traffic outside. My brain would not stop. Every conversation, every moment I should have said something. Every time I let it slide because I did not want to cause tension. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, I made a decision. I was not going to react emotionally. I was not going to call him crying or show up demanding answers or post something vague and bitter on social media. I was going to observe. I was going to document. And I was going to build something so undeniable that he would feel it in his bones. I got out of bed, turned on the light, and pulled out a notebook. I started writing. Conversations. Decisions I had made that were now unraveling because no one else knew how the systems worked. Not for revenge. For clarity. For proof. For me. I wrote everything down. The major client I saved when they were about to leave because my father ignored their calls for 2 weeks. The automation system I built that cut processing time in half. The 3 employees I trained who only stayed because I convinced them the company was going somewhere. The negotiation I closed that brought in 40% of last year's revenue. Every single thing I did that never had my name attached. I wrote it like I was preparing evidence for a case because in a way I was. Not a legal case. Personal one. I needed to see it on paper. I needed to know I was not crazy. That I had not imagined my own value. By the time the sun came up, I had 10 pages filled front and back. I stared at the last line I wrote. He erased me because he could not control me. Then I closed the notebook, made coffee, and got ready to start over. I borrowed a desk from a friend named Kayla who ran a co-working space downtown. She did not ask questions. Just gave me a key and said, "Take the corner. The Wi-Fi is decent." I took one freelance contract. A small consulting gig for a local business that needed help organizing their client files. Then I took another. A website redesign for a nonprofit. Then another. I did not announce anything. I did not post about my new venture. I did not send a dramatic email to old clients saying I was available. I just worked. I showed up every day, sat at that borrowed desk, and did the thing I was good at. Slowly people started noticing. Former clients who still had my personal number. Contacts I had made at networking events. They reached out quietly asking if I was taking on projects. Said yes. Kept my head down. I did not talk about my father. I did not trash the family business. When people asked why I left, I said, it was time to build something of my own. 2 months later, a former client called. His name was Vincent, and he ran a mid-sized logistics company we had worked with for 3 years. "Hey, Ashley," he said, his voice low like he was calling from a closet. "I just wanted to give you a heads up. I met with your dad last week. It did not go great. I did not say anything. Just listened." "He showed up unprepared," Vincent continued. "Did not have the numbers I asked for. Kept talking about big ideas but had no plan. Honestly, it felt like he did not know his own business anymore. I am probably going to move on." He paused. "Are you taking clients?" I told him I was. He signed a contract that afternoon. I did not gloat. I did not tell anyone. I just sent the signed agreement to my records folder and got back to work. But something shifted in me that day. A small crack in the wall of doubt I had been carrying. Maybe I was not the problem. Maybe the business was falling apart because the person running it had no idea what he was doing without me there to fix it. At family dinners, which I still attended because my mother guilted me into it, my father avoided my eyes. We sat at the same long table, passing dishes in silence. He still talked about the business. How busy they were. How many new opportunities were coming in. But now there was tension under his voice. Tightness. An edge where confidence used to sit. Tyler nodded along, chewing loudly, occasionally checking his phone under the table. My mother asked me polite questions about my apartment, my health, the weather. Never about work. Never about what I was building. It was like we had all agreed to pretend nothing had happened. But I could see it. The way my father's hands shook a little when he poured his water. The way he kept glancing at me, then looking away when I met his eyes. The way he laughed too loud at jokes that were not funny. He knew. He knew something was wrong. He just did not want to admit it. By month 4, I was earning more than I ever had under his roof. Not because I was charging outrageous rates. Because I was good. Because the clients I worked with trusted me. Because I showed up prepared, on time, and I delivered what I promised. By month 5 I had a wait list. People were referring me to their networks. I hired a part-time assistant to help with administrative work. I moved out of the co-working space and into a small office with my name on the door. Name. Not my father's. Not the family legacy. Just mine. And still I said nothing. I did not send a newsletter. I did not post success stories. I did not do anything that could be mistaken for gloating. I just kept building. Quietly. Steadily. While across town, the business my father thought he owned was starting to crack. 6 months after he fired me, I got the email. The subject line was blank. The message was short. We should meet. Just to talk. I stared at the screen for a long time. My assistant, Brianna, knocked on my office door. You okay? She asked. He nodded. Yeah. Just got something unexpected. I read the email 3 more times. There was no apology. No acknowledgement of what happened. Just a request. Like we were old colleagues who had lost touch. I thought about deleting it. I thought about ignoring it. But a bigger part of me wanted to see his face. I wanted to sit across from him and watch him ask for help from the daughter he erased. So I replied. 1 sentence. Name the place. He wrote back in under 5 minutes. Coffee shop on 5th. Tomorrow at 10. I confirmed, closed my laptop and went home early. I needed to prepare. He arrived early. Too early. When I walked into the coffee shop at exactly 10 o'clock, he was already sitting at a corner table with 2 cups in front of him. He stood up when he saw me, smiling like a man rehearsing confidence in a mirror. Ashley, you look great. I did not return the smile. I sat down. He pushed one of the cups toward me. Got you a latte. 2 sugars. That is still how you take it, right? I did not touch it. He sat back down, cleared his throat, and started talking. He complimented my work. Said he had been hearing great things. Mentioned my growth like I was a plant he had watered. You have really figured it out, he said. Then came the pause. A shift. The moment where the small talk ran out and the real reason for the meeting arrived. He folded his hands on the table and leaned forward slightly. Look, he said. I am just going to be honest. The business is struggling, he admitted. His voice was quieter now. Softer. Almost vulnerable. We have had some setbacks. Lost a few big clients. Some of the systems are not running as smoothly as they used to. He looked down at his coffee. We could use your expertise. Maybe on a consulting basis. Whatever works for you. Not an apology. Request. He did not say I was wrong. He did not say I should not have pushed you out. He said we could use your expertise. Like I was a tool he had misplaced and now needed back. I let the silence sit there. Let it stretch out until it got uncomfortable. He shifted in his seat. Glanced toward the door. Obviously we would pay you, he added quickly. Contract rate. Very competitive. I almost laughed. I did not. I just reached into my bag and pulled out my notebook. The same one I had filled that sleepless night 6 months ago. I opened it to the first page. I slid it across the table. He looked down. His expression changed as he started reading. Numbers. Contracts. Systems I had built. The exact moment each one started to collapse after I left. Client names. Revenue drops. Employees who quit because no one knew how to manage them. I watched his face shift from confusion to recognition to something close to fear. You kept track of all this? He asked quietly. I documented everything, I said. My voice was calm. Steady. Every decision I made. Every problem I solved. Every time you told people I was just helping. He flipped a page. Then another. His hands were shaking now. I did not come here to reconcile, I continued. I came here to show you exactly what you lost. He looked up at me. His mouth opened, closed. He had no answer. For the first time in my entire life, my father had no answer. He called it a partnership. Said we could rebuild together. Framed it like he was offering me something generous. Second chance. A seat at the table I had built with my own hands. This does not have to be complicated, he said. We are family. We can figure this out. I almost laughed. The audacity of it. The sheer, breathtaking nerve to sit across from me, after erasing me, after telling everyone I was just helping, and call this a partnership. You do not want a partner, I said. You want someone to fix your mistakes without having to admit you made them. He opened his mouth to argue. I did not let him. You want me to save the business so you can take credit again. So you can go back to introducing me as your daughter who helps out. I leaned forward. I am not interested in helping you. His face went red. Ashley, you are being unreasonable. No, I said. I am being clear. You did not just fire me, I said, my voice calm but sharp. You erased me. You took everything I built and put someone else's name on it. You told clients I was admin. You locked me out of systems I created. You made me invisible in my own work. I tapped the notebook. And now you want me back because you finally felt the loss. He stared at me. For a second I thought he might apologize. I thought he might finally, after everything, say he was sorry. Instead he said, I gave you an opportunity. I stood up. The chair scraped loudly. People at nearby tables looked over. I did not care. You gave me nothing, I said. I built that business while you slept. And when it started to look like I was better at it than you couldn't handle it. So you pushed me out. For the first time in my life, my father had no answer. His mouth opened, closed. Nothing came out. I picked up my notebook and put it back in my bag. I will not help you, I said. The words felt clean, final, like closing a door I should have locked years ago. And you know why. He stood up too, but slower, like his legs were not working right. Ashley, wait. No, I said. I was already walking toward the door. You do not get to wait me anymore. You do not get to decide when I matter. He called my name one more time. I did not turn around. I pushed open the door and stepped out into the bright afternoon. The air was cool. My hands were steady. My chest felt light for the first time in months. I got into my car, started the engine, and drove back to my office, where my name was on the door and my work spoke for itself. He never contacted me again. No follow-up email. No text. No call. Nothing. And I was fine with that. 3 months later, I heard through a former coworker that my father had started letting employees go. Not because he wanted to. Because he could not afford to keep them. 6 months after that, Tyler left to take a job at a tech startup where someone else would tell him what to do. A year after our meeting, I saw the business listing online. For sale. Quietly. No press release. No fanfare. Just a simple post on a commercial real estate site. The family business that was supposed to be a legacy was being sold for parts. I did not feel triumphant. I did not feel vindicated. I just felt tired. Tired of carrying the weight of what could have been if he had just trusted me. If he had just let go. If he had just said thank you instead of you are no longer part of the company. The business closed quietly the following year. I heard about it from my mother in a voicemail I did not return for 3 days. I built something better. Not better because it made more money, though it did. Not better because it had my name on it, though that mattered. Better because I built it without fear. Without permission. Without shrinking myself to fit inside someone else's vision of what I should be. My team was small but strong. People who trusted me because I trusted them. Clients who stayed because I kept my promises. A business model that did not rely on one person taking all the credit. I did not win by beating my father. I won by never needing his approval again. By proving to myself that I was not just the backbone of his company, I was capable of building my own. And when I sat in my office late at night, looking at contracts with my signature at the bottom, I did not think about revenge. I thought about the girl who sat in that kitchen 6 months earlier, holding an empty folder, being told she did not build anything. I wished I could go back and tell her you did. And you will again.